Show me a man with a 1,000-day Duolingo streak, and I will show you a hostage. If you recently deleted the app, I have some bad news and some good news. The bad news is you failed the game. But the good news? A new psychological profiling suggests that quitting isn't a sign of laziness. It's actually a symptom of a high IQ. You see, you didn't quit because it was too hard. You quit because your brain detected a scam that millions of others are still falling for. The CEO of Duolingo has publicly admitted that being mean works better for retention than being nice. Let that sink in. You are being bullied by a cartoon bird into generating ad revenue. But for a specific type of person, that bullying backfired. It triggered a psychological state known as reactance, a violent desire to regain your cognitive freedom. If you deleted the app out of spite, you didn't lose. You woke up. Let's diagnose why your brain rejected the owl. Duolingo doesn't function like an educational institution. Think of it as a behavioral modification engine wrapped in cute graphics, and you were the lab rat. Psychologists call this the Skinner box. You press a lever, you get a pellet. You press a button, you get a ding and a shiny chest. Your brain releases a microscopic hit of dopamine. It feels like productivity, but deep down, your subconscious knows the truth. This isn't language acquisition. It's a very slow, very colorful slot machine, where the jackpot is the illusion that you're getting smarter. The moment you deleted that app, you broke the glass on the Skinner box. But why now? Why do some people stay trapped for 500 days while you pulled the plug? It comes down to one lethal psychological weapon that Duolingo uses to hunt your attention span. And once you see it, you will never look at that green owl the same way again. The weapon is something user experience designers call confirm shaming. It's a dark pattern designed to frame your ability to exit the app not as a choice, but as a moral failure. When you try to leave, the interface doesn't just say goodbye. No, it deploys the sad owl. They redesigned the mascot specifically to mimic physical deterioration, crying, melting, giving you eyes that scream abandonment. This is a calculated hack of your social brain. Humans are hardwired to respond to facial distress. Duolingo anthropomorphizes a few lines of code into a friend so that deleting the app feels like killing a pet. But here is where the fork in the road appears. This is where the sheep and the sovereign mind diverge. The standard user feels a pang of guilt. They think, "Aw, I made him sad," and they click back in. But you felt something different. You felt insulted. Your inner voice didn't go, "Poor Duo." It snapped. "I'm an adult. I won't be bullied by a cartoon's theatrics." And you were right to be suspicious. This aggression is intentional. The company has pivoted from helpful reminders to, and this is their actual terminology, passive-aggressive notifications. Think about that relationship dynamic. If a human behaved the way this app behaves, bombarding you with texts, crying when you need space, showing up on your home screen widget to glare at you, you would call the police. You would get a restraining order against a psycho stalker. But we accept it from an app? This led you to a state of intrusion fatigue. Like a metal bar bent back and forth one too many times, your tolerance snapped. You didn't quit because you were bored. You quit because you have a high standard for personal dignity. You refuse to let a marketing algorithm nag you in your own pocket. But the emotional manipulation is just the fence around the prison. Inside, there is a much deeper trap. A fake number that keeps millions of people locking in, terrified to leave. The streak is the crown jewel of Duolingo's empire. But for the strategist, it should be seen as what it is, a tool of coercive control. The app sells the 365-day streak as a badge of honor, but behind the curtain, it's loss aversion weaponized against you. Psychology tells us that the pain of losing something, in this case a number, is twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining actual knowledge. You weren't logging in every day because you were inspired to learn Spanish. You didn't open the app out of inspiration. You opened it to prevent that day count from dropping to zero. You became a prisoner of the sunk cost fallacy. The average user looks at a 100-day streak and thinks, I've invested too much time to stop now. And they continue to engage in low-quality, mindless tapping just to feed the beast. They aren't learning. They are paying maintenance fees on a crumbling building. And nothing exposes the cynical nature of this mechanic more than the streak freeze. By allowing you to pay, either with gems or real money, to keep your streak alive when you miss a day, Duolingo admits the quiet part out loud. By letting you pay, gems or cash, to keep the streak alive when you miss a day, Duolingo lets the truth slip out. The streak isn't a consistency metric so much as a monetization vehicle. The moment you realize this, the spell broke. The user is trapped by the past, thinking, I can't quit, I have 500 days. But the quitter focuses on the future. This isn't working, so the 500 days are irrelevant. Deleting a high streak isn't an act of giving up. It is a triumph of rationality over your reptilian brain. You calculated the opportunity cost, and you realized that spending 15 minutes a day protecting a fake number was actually stealing time from real, deep work. You didn't lose a streak. You gained 15 minutes of your life back. But the most damning indictment isn't even the psychological tricks. It's the product itself. The reason you finally deleted it is the most brutal pill to swallow. Even if you play the game perfectly, the game is rigged to keep you stupid. People defend Duolingo with, it's better than doing nothing, but your brain noticed the scarier truth. It can be worse than nothing, because it substitutes real effort with a hallucination. Cognitive scientists call this the illusion of competence. The app is engineered to keep you in a flow state. It wants you tapping bubbles, matching pairs, and flying through levels. It prioritizes speed. But here is the glitch in the matrix. Real learning doesn't happen in a smooth flow. It requires struggle. Professor Robert Bjork coined the term desirable difficulty. To build neural pathways, your brain needs to struggle. You need to pull a word out of thin air. That's called recall. But Duolingo rarely asks you to recall. Instead, it prompts recognition. You aren't speaking a language. You are solving a logic puzzle where the answer is always on the screen. This fosters shallow processing, where you learn to recognize shapes and patterns rather than meaning. You become a master of the interface, but a novice of the language. It is intellectual fast food. It's hyper-palatable, colorful, and gives you a rush of sugar, levels, XP animations, but it is nutritionally void. You feel productive for an hour, but you are essentially starving your brain of the density it needs to actually grow. This leads to the transfer gap. The user has a level 50 gold tree, but freezes in terror when a waiter asks them a question in real life. They have the badges, but they don't have the skills. The quitter is the person who recognized this hollowness. You deleted the app because it was too easy. You didn't want the sugar high. You wanted the steak. You realized that tapping man eats apple doesn't substitute for an actual conversation, so you walked away. And what you found on the other side wasn't failure. It was silence. And in that silence, you reclaimed the one thing the app tried to steal. This isn't about language learning anymore. This is about cognitive sovereignty. We are witnessing a bifurcation in the human population. On one side, the users, hooked on the dopaminergic loop, mistaking movement for progress, letting an algorithm dictate their daily habits. They are the passengers. On the other side, the quitters, the people like you. By deleting the app, you declared that you are the captain of your own attention span. You rejected the gamified life. You realized that points aren't the same as proficiency. Streaks are not discipline, and apps are not teachers. They are businesses. You have pierced the veil. You understand that if you aren't struggling, you aren't learning. You traded the simulation for the real thing. Maybe you bought a textbook. Maybe you hired a tutor. Maybe you're just okay with not knowing a language right now. But whatever you do, you are doing it on your terms. So to the strategist, the dissident, the one who broke the streak, do not let them tell you that you quit. The user is playing a game designed to never end. You simply realize the only way to win was to stop playing. If this diagnosis resonates with you, you're probably immune to the engagement traps most people fall for. But there is one trap even the smartest minds miss, and it's hiding in your productivity system. Watch this video next to see if you're making the efficiency mistake that is killing your real progress. Dismissed.